Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT no government license, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That's BIPCOT.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion is entirely hypothetical. This is episode 220?
Maybe
220, yes, 220. Yes, I'm put that in stone, 220.
okay, sure.
Yes, 220. I don't know what's significant about that. It's just we're on 220. Oh,
Yeah,
woohoo!
I have no idea what we're even going to call this episode. So I don't know. We'll find it along the way.
Shell says we're 10 minutes early, so
Hey, see, so now no one can complain that we're always late.
because we built up 10 minutes of goodwill, right? And last time we were right on time because I scheduled it for 6:05, and we were on like 6:40 and 37 seconds or whatever. So we were early. We were early last time.
See, so we've been early twice in a row.
Yeah.
See,
we're good then.
Yeah, we're being very professional.
Pro fucking professional with our one viewer.
Yeah, it was Shells, the lone viewer.
5 minutes late is 10 minutes early for y'all. We're consistent.
Yeah, at least you can't complain about being inconsistent. Like there's something to be said about consistency.
We still run better than the government.
It's true. That is true.
So, but yeah, it's just me and Andrew again. No Josh, no Chris. So you get to hear our lovely, very somber voices today.
Yeah. Existence is pain.
Whee!
Yay!
It's the meme with the flaming parachute. Whee!
Yeah. Whee! Yeah, exactly. That's life right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like the meme that I made with the we are not the same with the you want the collapse to come so that you can find more freedom. I want the collapse to come so I don't have to make another GAR payment. We are not the same.
Now we just shot up to 4. Mr. Buckshot, what is up? Do we want to start off with a laugh? We could both use a laugh, right?
Yeah. Let's start off with a laugh. Hopefully it lifts the tone of this episode a little bit.
We'll start off with a laugh. I'll start off with the hidden article just for the laugh, for the lulz. Okay. No, I won't read the headline. No, fuck yeah. You don't get the headline. I'll read the first paragraph. A humanitarian organization is calling on all first-person shooter players to obey the rules of war, real-life guidelines governing wars in the world of video games as well.
Motherfucker, real World War fighters don't obey the rules of war. The Geneva Suggestions.
Hold on. Quote, "We, the International Committee of the Red Cross, rally all first-person shooter gamers to play by the rules of war, which protect the humanity and dignity of people all over the world." The ICRC explained that it was trying to fight against the normalization of war, even for gamers playing games involving guns and including themes of conflict from their couch.
Are you kidding me? Committing war crimes is half of the fun of playing video games.
It's not a war crime the first time, right?
Well,
there you go. Yeah.
Ain't a
Yes,
war crime the first
no
time.
shells. I'm not joking. Yes. Quote, Every day, people play games set in conflict zones right from their couch. But right now, armed conflicts are more prevalent than ever. And to the people suffering from their effects, this conflict is not a game. Quote, it destroys lives and leaves communities devastated. Therefore, we're challenging you to play FPS by the real rules of war to show everyone that not even wars have rules. Rules which protect humanity on battlefields in real life.
They don't, though. Never have. It's if you're only listening to the audio version, I swapped patches real quick, and I am now wearing a patch that says it's not a war crime the first time.
Yes.
And features not only a gas canister from World War I, but also the 1887 trench shotgun.
The trench shotgun, yeah.
And you have to appreciate the audacity of the Germans in World War I with that, with their complaint about that being. But it is unfair. Are you not using mustard gas right now? That is something else entirely. This shotgun is not allowed.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a war crime or to be a crime against humanity, you have to first view your opponent as humanity.
That's human, yeah. Which we know once depleted uranium rounds came into effect, the enemy wasn't human anymore.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, DU. So DU is really controversial, and it may or may not be hazardous. It's hard to know for sure with whether it is or it isn't. But the reality is how many wars have you ever seen where people actually obey the rules of war? Even as a kid, I remember hearing about the rules of war and laughing, being like, rules of war?
It's like the term fair fight.
Yeah.
Right, which is just it's like if you're in a fair fight, your tactics suck, right? That's how the saying goes, right? If you're playing fair in war, you don't want to win bad enough.
Yeah, well, if you're playing fair, if you're fighting fair in war, then you're destined to lose.
Yes,
just flat out, you're destined to lose because your opponent is not going to play fair.
Yes.
That's, I mean, look at how the British during the American Revolution, right? Where they were like, but that's not cricket. You can't hide behind things and shoot at me. You have to stand there still so that I can shoot back. And Americans are like, no, I'm going to hide behind a freaking rock.
Yeah. Didn't they try to ban snipers at one point as being not unmanly, but ungentlemanly?
Yeah, snipers have always been viewed as kind of ungentlemanly and always kind of hated by most military forces throughout warfare's history.
But loved by the war fighters.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they're on your side, you love them, but the ones that are on the other guy's side, you absolutely despise. I mean, during World War II, in Stalingrad, both the Germans and the Russians, the Soviets, had bounties paid for snipers if you could kill one and bring them in.
Vietnam too with Hancock.
Yeah, Carlos Hathcock. Yeah,
they had a bounty on him.
Yeah, they had a bounty on his head. He's the only guy that I know of who actually ran around through a scope into somebody's eye.
Yes.
And whether or not he actually did that's hard to say because it's an unverified thing about the story, but I tend to believe him because that guy was real good.
He put a scope on an MA2.
Yeah,
and held off literally a battalion.
Yeah, he was quite the dude. That's, I mean, it's impressive. But I mean, during World War II too, the Japanese strapped themselves up in trees, tied themselves to trees and then would snipe and things and at night and all of these things throughout the history of warfare has never been a gentlemanly affair, really.
Yeah.
And no one has ever really observed rules. So to say that in video games I need to oh no, I could teabag this latest kill of mine, but that would be against the rules of war and a desecration of a corpse. So no. Oh, I could use the main gun on my tank to shoot this sniper that I see, but that would be against the Geneva Convention, and therefore I should not do. Can you imagine a video game where you had to obey the rules of war, where like it wouldn't let you violate them? Like, it would be ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
No. Quote, we want to collaborate hand in hand with the community to have a tangible and meaningful outcome for IHL as a common good for humanity. This does not mean that we want in any way to force the industry or players to incorporate the laws of war into video games. Now they're the laws of war. The laws of war into video games, but rather to start having exchanges about how these laws are designed to protect each and every one of us in a situation of armed conflict.
There is no protection in a situation of armed conflict except to be armed. Like,
Yes.
The thing is, like, what's hilarious about this is, like, laughs in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, where, like, in a single video game, you not only commit, like, at least 8 separate war crimes as part of the missions, but also an act of international terrorism. Like,
I mean, yeah.
I just want to point out, like, that. And that was how old is that game now? Man, that's got to be 13 years old.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's.
But wait, there's more. There's more.
Oh God.
The ICRC lists 4 rules for gamers around the world to follow that apply to the rules of war. They have an actual list. They have 4 rules listed.
What is this list?
The first rule, quote, when an enemy is down and can't respond, you can't keep shooting at them.
Wait, that's a rule? Where's that written?
Second rule, bots that don't fire unprovoked are considered civilians, and you can't target or harm them.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, can't play GTA anymore.
That's that definitely never happens in real war. That's what those rules are for, is so that you don't shoot at people who didn't shoot at you first.
The third rule, quote, in any given game map, houses, schools, or hospitals are considered safe zones that you cannot harm. When fighting in these spaces, you must do everything you can to avoid damage.
How would I know if it had been a hospital or a school after that JNAM? It's so hard to tell anymore.
I'm just saying there's some WikiLeaks videos you might want to go check out on that.
Yeah, like, it's. Yes. I'm just saying, if I take fire from a building, why bother shooting at it when I can drop a bomb on it?
Hold on, this is the best one. This is the best one. The fourth rule, quote, if you have an unused med kit that works on others, you must give it to those who need it, be they friendly or enemy.
First of all, there's no mechanic in games for that. Second of all, no.
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 That's not how you win the game.
First of all, it's not how you win a game. That's also not how you win wars.
I understand what they're trying to do. The international community of Red Cross. I understand what they're trying to do, right? Trying to humanize war, right? Yeah. Trying to commit or create the conversation that war, in real life war, which we are largely desensitized to due to video games and the news and live stream media and all that good stuff. They're trying to humanize the victims of war. And I get that. But you're trying to do it in a generation that literally live streams video games as a means of income.
Yeah. Like, and not only that, but like what they're trying to do is they're trying to generate that they're trying, they are trying to encourage conversation. They're trying to encourage the discussion about, the real costs of war and what really happens in war and everything else. And I mean, we're talking about it right now. So, I mean, it's successful in that endeavor, and I get that.
We're talking about it in jest, but yeah.
Yeah, but like, I mean, for anybody who's ever been to a war, the rules of war are a joke.
Yes.
Like, we call them the Geneva Suggestions for a reason. Like, they're a please don't do that. But you know what? We're probably gonna fucking do that. Like, I mean, it's
to be fair, war fighters in a war zone in their off time play first person shooters.
Yeah, because real war is just not entertaining enough. And I wish that was a joke.
No, it's not.
But 90% of being in a war zone is being really, really fucking bored.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why there's so many videos out of Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff where they're just playing pranks on each other, or they're doing the dances, the synchronized dances and stuff, singing Call Me Maybe, and out in the yard in a fob and shit. Like, there's a reason why those happen, and it's because most of war is sitting around waiting for something interesting to occur.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's just the idea that you try and tell people, like, no, you should follow the rules of war in video games.
In video games.
Like, I play video games so that I don't have to worry about those things. Like, if I was in a real war, I would have to actually worry about, like, hey, I maybe shouldn't just like spray these buildings with the chain gun on the side of a helicopter at random because there might be somebody there. Like, in the real world, I have to worry about those things and consider the ramifications of my actions. In a video game, I just respawn.
Yeah. I greatly enjoy playing games like the Division. The Division 2 is probably one of my favorite shooters ever. And like, how can you can't humanize that situation, right? I mean, that is a literal occupation of your backyard by hostile entities after after a biological weapon was unleashed, right? There's no humanity there. There's no Red Cross. There's no Salvation Army. There's no anything there like there is in real life.
Yeah.
And the NPCs, the enemies in the game, they don't play by the rules either.
Yeah, they just shoot you.
They just shoot you. A lot.
Yeah. Heck, so a lot of the other players also will shoot you.
Yes.
So it's one of my favorite things to do in the Division 2 is be like, yeah, I'll help you out. Okay. Oh, we're getting extracted. All right. And switch teams.
Yeah.
My loot. Which would be completely against the rules of war. But you know what? Screw you. It's a video game.
I'm not being paid to be on the good guys.
Yeah, no one's paying me to do this. Yeah. If you were paying me, then maybe I might stay on your side. But if you're not paying me, then no. I'm going to switch sides and I'm just going to take all your crap.
Yeah. It's just...
And you would think after me doing that 5, 6, 150 times, somebody would realize, like, hey, maybe don't trust that guy. But they never learn. They never learn.
They never learn. So, yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. I understand what I understand what they're trying to do, but the way that they're going about it is hilarious.
There's an opportunity. I don't know if you've ever played High on Life, but I love High on Life. It's from the studio that the guy who created Rick and Morty founded.
Okay.
And he does a lot of the voices and stuff. But you have like an intelligent gun, like that's a type of alien thing. But so like it talks to you through the whole thing, and like if during the tutorial at the very beginning you pause it, it will yell at you for pausing. the game and stuff. But at one point, there's this kid in your way, and he's like just being a jerk and like da 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 da. Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? You gonna shoot me? You gonna shoot me, big guy? And you aim the gun, and the gun's like, no, I'm not gonna shoot a kid. All right, I'm not doing that. But if you persist, eventually it will let you shoot the kid. And he's like, there, you shot a child. You murdered a child in cold blood. Are you happy now? Are you happy with yourself?
Oh, yeah. The Far Cry 5, we should have just taken the Peggies to court. That's...
yeah. Apparently, yeah, that would have helped.
Yeah. Yeah, Scott said his kid shot him too.
Yeah, and like when you shoot him, he's like, "Oh, you shot me, I'm dead," and then dies. And then later in the game, you do find out, like, you meet his mom, and you do find out that he was actually like in his 30s, so it's not like a big deal. He wasn't actually a kid; he just looked like one.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't know it at the time, and you get an achievement for it that's called "They Won't Let You Do This" in Fallout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, where do you want to go?
Oh, let me look back at the list. Oh God. Should we talk about the IRS, Jason?
I hate the IRS. Fuck those people. Yeah. So the tax man is coming, and he's locked and loaded. The Internal Revenue Service is looking for more than 350 employees willing to, if necessary, terminate their fellow Americans.
Terminate their fellow Americans.
Terminate their fellow Americans. A job posting on the agency's website for a, quote, criminal investigator position is looking for would-be agents to investigate, quote, potential criminal violations of the tax code in a manner that fosters confidence in the tax system and compliance with the law. Because, again, we all know that you have to follow the laws.
Yeah, that's...
Yes,
law.
Under the major duties section of the listing, the IRS noted that applicants must be willing to, quote, carry a firearm, must be prepared to protect him, herself, or others from physical attacks at any time and without warning, and use firearms in life-threatening situations. Must be willing to use force up to and including the use of deadly force.
You must be willing to kill your fellow man over money that they refuse to have stolen from them.
Yes. To enforce
them damn revenuers are at it again. I nicked the census, man. Well, here's a good boy.
Applicants must also be willing to carry out their duties for, quote, a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, and be on call to bring the heat 24/7, including holidays and weekends. According to the usajobs.gov, the IRS, which drew online uproar for a similar posting last year, opened its latest hiring spree on February 15th and is looking for 360 criminal investigators based in all 50 states, offering a max salary of just over $94,000 per year.
Okay, now hear me out here. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that anyone should do this, but I am saying that if you are an anarchist and have not been overly vocal about your position, and you can get into this job, you can sabotage things from the inside.
Yep. I was just thinking that, some bad Quaker Ben Stone, simple sabotage, go read Sedition, Subverted, and Sabotage. There's a lot of opportunity for some friendly saboteur.
Well, and also, I mean, keep in mind, like, if you work for the IRS, you're on the inside, you can give people heads up that they couldn't otherwise get. Like, that's a valuable thing.
Yep. And then also because it's a federal job, you're in the union, so which makes it really, really difficult for them to fire you. And the benefits are fantastic. The agency appears to be placing a special focus on Texas, where it's hiring staffers for 20 different locations.
Gosh, I can't imagine why they would be focusing so heavily on having armed agents in Texas.
California, where the agency is hiring for 18 locations, places second on that list. Well, New York and Florida are tied for third, with the agency hiring for 13 positions in each. Neither Texas nor Florida have a state income tax, confirming or neither Texas nor Florida have a state income tax, confirming enforcement there will be on a strictly federal basis.
Gee,
President Biden provided the IRS with more than $80 billion in new funding as part of the $739 billion Inflation Reduction Act he signed back in August. Well, we talked about this before about the new agents coming in, and they're going to spend like $40 billion to raise something like 50
no, there's
or 20 billion.
They're spending $80 billion to potentially raise like $40 billion over 10 years.
Yeah. which is about half of the quote tax deficit, or the quote taxes that aren't paid. So yeah, they're going to spend 80 billion to potentially raise 40 by giving more IRS agents guns.
Is Ralphie Wiggum in charge of the budget office right now?
Like, I just hope they follow the rules of war.
Yeah, I'm so, because governments attacking their own citizens historically so completely obey the rules of war.
Isn't that the justification for us invading Iraq in 2003?
Yeah,
it's because Saddam was totally respecting his citizens.
Yeah, he was definitely, when he gassed those Kurds, it was totally obeying the rules of war.
It was a non-mustard gas. It's fine. Oh,
I mean, it was a non-mustard gas. It was sarin.
which is not. I don't think sarin's banned by the rules of war, is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
Any and all, even
well, it's fine though
by the Geneva Convention.
I think it's fine though, because I've never seen sarin gas in a video game.
Have I seen sarin gas?
I've seen mustard. I've seen mustard gas. I've seen mustard gas in video games.
Yeah, you can use mustard gas in Battlefield 1.
Yeah, so they're definitely banned.
The ketchup gas. Actually, mustard gas is called mustard gas because it does briefly smell like mustard right before it starts melting your lungs.
Lovely. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it melts your lungs. It causes these like mustard yellow boils on it. It's pretty horrific. Yeah. It's actually, I mean, poison gas was actually so bad, and this is like peak irony, but poison gas was actually so bad in World War I that a certain private from World War I who went on to be a failed artist after the war, or before the war, it was a failed artist rather, and then after the war would go on to do some things that you may have heard of. He flat out forbid even the discussion of deploying it in war. Because he hated it so much, because he'd gone through it and it left him blind for an extended period of time. So he actually forbid it, although he had no problem using it on his own people at all.
But
so,
he wasn't at war with his own people. So, yeah, so technically he didn't break the rules, because the rules of war only apply during war.
He was just murdering them wholesale.
Yeah, that's just good old fashioned eugenics. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll be okay. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. But he didn't play first person shooter, so he didn't know the rules.
Can you imagine the racist epithets you would get from Adolf Hitler in a modern warfare lobby? Like,
oh my goodness!
You thought that 14-year-old down the street was bad.
Oh my goodness! Oh, Oh, yeah.
They really should have included that scene in Jojo Rabbit. I'm not gonna lie. And if you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, you really need to go watch that movie. Like
Mustache Man 1488. Oh goodness.
You're like, why do you keep yelling into the mic? I didn't try it. You're camping. You are camping. That is not a legitimate strategy.
Mustache Man 1488 gets shot. 999. Oh,
that would be a great skit if no one does that.
Like of all the things AI should be doing.
Right, they already have Biden, Trump, and I think like Obama playing with Ben Shapiro playing CS:GO.
Yeah.
Done by AI. So what we need is Adolf Hitler sucking horrendously in like a World War II first-person shooter. It's the lag. It is the lag.
The lag.
Yeah. It's not my fault. It is the ping. My ping is too high. Heinrich, fix the ping.
Oh, I put him on the train car.
Yeah. Oh, you gonna go cry to your mommy?
Oh,
don't you dare talk about my mother.
Yeah, Jack laughs in Argentinian. Oh man. So yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's going to be an ongoing theme throughout this episode.
Oh boy, angry video game Adolf. Like, boy, you thought the 4chan forums were rough before, like, no actual Hitler in it. You're literally Hitler. Yeah, how did you know?
Oh goodness. Oh, as I said, like of all the things AI should be doing, I just AI having Mustache Man 1488 playing in a Call of Duty game and just getting absolutely pawned would be just so fucking good.
Just his chat just as he's getting straight wrecked. That was not even fair. That was a noob tube.
Oh.
And meanwhile, yes. Goebbels is also on there, just like cheerleading him the whole time, just like, "You're right, mein Führer. You have such a great KD. This is the greatest KD of all time."
Yeah,
because this is not the fault of the Führer. This is clearly the ping and the result of obvious, intentional lag created by the other players, and this is obviously not.
Hans and Fritz out there running block.
Oh, get Hitler to play Battlefield 1. See how he likes it. Hey Adolf, guess what? Meat mustard gas. 999. You just hear him running away from the mic.
Here's silently sobbing, and then just silence. Female voice comes on. Are you okay? Ava signing on.
Yeah. Ava's signing off.
Then Ava's signing off.
Yes. I'm just thinking, like, he logs onto a server and it's like, Stalin has joined the or Man of Steel has joined the server, and he's, you know what? I have to go. And
Oh, that's what we need. That's okay. That's what AI needs to do. Mustache Man 1488, Man of Steel. We got Italian Fascist 01. we gotta have Mao. And then we gotta have like, I don't know. You gotta have someone on the outside, someone like Churchill.
oh yeah,
all
could
in
have
the chat.
Yeah, you could have drunk cigar guy.
Yeah.
And then you could have Crip Walk something, which would be
Crip Walk.
FDR.
Wheels. Let's call him Wheels. Yeah. We got Russian Mustache Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean that would be Man of Steel. That would be Stalin.
Yeah.
But like, you could have. I mean, you'd have to have. I mean, really, you could have like, and the
yeah, you could have helicopter guy.
Yeah. Oh, you could do. I mean, you could have a lot of fun. I mean, just with World War figures from World War II, you could have some fantastic conversations. Like every once in a while, Canada just interjects, and everyone's like, "Shut up!"
There's Irish on every side.
Yeah, just constantly. Well, there'd also be. You'd also have the Spanish too. That would be on every side simultaneously. The Greeks initially. What do you think? You have like the Turks that are just occasionally like, I used to be very good at this game, and it's like, yeah, we know, bud, we know.
there's a guy with a Texas accent loaning money out.
Yeah, it's just, oh well, I guess I'll just go ahead. He's just HW something
Prescott.
Well, and there's and there'd be PB, but but Herbert Walker and Prescott Bush, I mean, they built the railroad into Auschwitz. So
they'd all have cool uniforms though. Thanks, Hugo.
I mean, say what you will about the Nazis, but they were well dressed.
Yes.
I still want an SS motorcycle trooper leather jacket because it's like one of the coolest uniform pieces ever created for any army in the history of ever. It is fabulous.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. To a bill here in the United States and Minnesota. Arguing COVID came from China could land you on Minnesota government's biased registry, according to a new bill.
Which is hilarious considering that the American Intelligence Committee has now released a unanimous finding that, yes, in fact, it was a lab leak from China.
Yes, from Wuhan, yes. Minnesota Representative Harry Niska, Republican, asked during the debate on the new bill whether praise for Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, or arguing that COVID originated in China, would qualify as, quote, biased speech that would put citizens on a government database. Minnesota lawmakers are mulling a change to state law House File 181 that would log alleged bias incidents even when they aren't considered a crime.
Because this is absolutely in the spirit of the First Amendment that you get put on a government list when you commit wrongthink.
Not just a government list. It is a bias registry. The bill
totally sounds like the kind of thing that happens in a free society, right?
The bill, introduced in January, would allow people to report perceived bias-related incidents such as alleged slurs and verbal attacks that would fall outside the hate crimes compiled annually by the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehensions, according to the St. Cloud Times. I read that again. The bill introduced in January would allow people to report perceived bias related incidents, such as alleged slurs and verbal attacks that would fall outside of hate crimes compiled annually by the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehensions.
So what I'm hearing is, in the state of Minnesota, if you're going to use a slur, make sure that there is no doubt that that is a slur. Because if you're going to do the time, you might as well do the crime. Like, don't hold back. Just let that shit fly.
Yes. Republican State Representative Walter Hudson warned House File 181 could pose a threat to religious freedom.
No.
Quote, it seems very clear, based upon their focus of motivation, that they're more concerned about what's going on in people's heads, which is protected speech, and that's a thought crime.
This is like, you know what this highlights, though?
Just lobbies, gamer lobbies.
4chan,
Yeah.
Reddit. Like, the thing is, though, is like this. I mean, just like consider this, right? Like, this is happening in the United States.
Yes.
This is in the United States,
and it's not in like a New England, right? It's not one of the blue blood states, considered blue blood states. Minnesota, which is like the northern heartland, right? You think good old boys, you think rednecks, you think ice fishing.
I mean, I don't, but that's because I live so close to it. Like, when I think like absolute suburban shitholes,
okay,
I definitely think of Minnesota. Because the Twin Cities, Rochester, like they're bad.
They've had a lot of we'll call them differently thought people moving in there recently.
Well, I mean, they keep in mind, I mean, like, the Twin Cities is also where the FBI supposedly uncovered 9/11 shortly before it actually happened, and then got told to stand down. That was Twin Cities. There's Duluth, which is fucking Duluth. There's Rochester, that has, if memory serves, the highest rate of Satanism per capita of any city in the country. Like, they're and the home to Mayo Clinic. So
coincidence? That's
if you've ever dealt with Mayo, they got to be serving somebody, and it ain't good. But they're like, I mean, the whole thing with Minnesota, like Minnesota versus Wisconsin, right? Like, Wisconsin, we're on the other side of the river from Minnesota. And the thing is like, Minnesota is like only maybe 10 years, if that, ahead of Wisconsin, because the majority of Minnesotans do not support this stuff, right? Like, they think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's completely preposterous. But the people, the population centers concentrated in the Twin Cities and concentrated in Duluth and concentrated in Rochester override the rest of it. It's the same thing in Wisconsin, where the majority of Wisconsin is pretty freedom loving and wants to be free and just kind of left alone. But you have Madison and Milwaukee.
Same thing in Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado now. Yeah.
And that's kind of like this ongoing issue, but this like truly highlights how bad Minnesota really is. And like, and it's so funny. I always laugh about the Twin Cities, where people are like, oh, it's so great. It's known for all its museums and everything else, and it's great art. And I'm like, so is Portland.
God, dude, the videos I've been seeing coming out of Portland are they're almost heartbreaking. The videos coming out of Portland. Downtown Portland, with just the homelessness, and it's worse. It's worse in San Francisco. It's worse than the videos coming out in San Francisco. But yeah,
I mean that's it. And that Twin Cities has tons. I mean, Twin Cities also, like, back in the late 80s, early 90s, imported tons of like forced in tons of Somali immigrants.
Yeah, Somali immigrants. That's where a lot of the Afghan refugees went to also.
Yep. Well, yeah, after they came here.
Yeah.
And when I say here, I really mean like 40 minutes away from my house.
Yeah, the base
where they all came.
The base right there,
Yeah.
right?
Fort McCoy. Yeah, they all came in to Fort McCoy, which is right up the road. So, and it's the same thing, but you look at this stuff and it's like, very clearly, like we talked about social credit scores coming to America before. This is clearly another step to social credit scores.
Yes. It's social credit. Yeah. Quote, if a Minnesotan writes an article claiming or arguing that COVID-19 is a Chinese bioweapon that leaked from a lab in Wuhan, and someone reports that article to the Department of Human Rights, is that something the Department of Human Rights should put on their bias registry under your bill? That's Niska asking. Vang, the author, argued that while not all incidents are considered violent or criminal, this sort of rhetoric is, quote, bias motivated. Therefore, it can be considered a bias incident. He posed another question to Vang, asking if someone wearing a quote, I love J.K. Rowling shirt would be added to the database. Quote, if a Minnesotan is wearing a t-shirt that says I love J.K. Rowling, and someone sees that and reports them to the Minnesota Department of Human Rights as an example of gender identity or gender expression bias, is that something the Minnesota Department of Human Rights should put on their bias database? Vang said, quote, I'm not going to answer yes or no to that question.
Yeah, she said it would be better answered by lawyers. You're the one writing the law.
Yeah, that Vang, that's Representative Samantha Vang, by the way.
Of course, she's a fucking Vang.
Yeah.
It's if you that family, that family. But I mean, I know a few Vangs that aren't terrible, but most anyway.
Hey, you're on the bias registry now.
Apparently, yeah. I've known too many of them. Don't forget it was a Vang in Wisconsin who shot those hunters after he trespassed.
Come on, Jack says I can't wait to zero out my social credit score, bro. You assume you're gonna have one in the first place.
Yeah, we're all starting in the negatives. Like, it's
go to check your social credit score. Just a red light goes off.
Oh man, but I mean, like, the thing is like if you look at her photo too in that article, like she looks exactly like the kind of person
like you'd expect.
Yeah, the kind of person who would come up with this and who has no knowledge of the wider world, especially the world that her family came from, right? Because she's Hmong. And they came from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and so her grandparents are probably rolling over in their graves right now, and if they're still alive, they are very disappointed in her. Are you kidding me? This is exactly the kind of communist crap that they fought against, you pile of garbage. But yeah, like, you hate J.K. Rowling because of her opinions. I hate J.K. Rowling because she writes crap fiction.
She rewrote the Jedi Tales.
I mean, first of all, like, oh, that's such a creative thing for you to come up with. A 10-year-old boy discovers something wonderful. That's that involves a wand. Oh, it's magic. That's truly new. That never happens.
Disturbing.
I'm just saying. Something wonderful. But the the whole thing with this is like, this is blatantly punishing people for wrongthink, right? Like that's the point that Niska was trying to make. Where it's pretty obvious, like, what this is about controlling speech. This is about violating free speech, and this is the kind of stuff that we keep seeing, right? They're trying to take away your guns, they're trying to take away your right to speak, they're trying to take away your right to assemble, they're trying to we keep seeing this stuff and keep seeing this stuff and keep seeing this stuff. And then they just like add on, none of this is a violation of the Constitution at the bottom of their bill. Like magically that makes it okay.
I mean, yeah, that's what it is. They follow the rules of war, so that it's fine. It's fine because they follow the rules of war. They censor themselves in the gaming lobbies too.
As I slaughter the civilian town, and I'm like, but everyone understands that none of this violates the rules of war, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Abracadabra, now it doesn't. Yay! And then everyone clapped. It's just
no. We pass laws making it legal. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll be okay. But I mean, like, this is the crap, right? That we're starting to see over and over again, where they want to, and they never say we're going to punish you. It's only you're going to be put on a list. We want you on a registry. We want, a regular reports that name names. It's always that stuff. It's never, it's never this like actual, like, they're going to be open about what they're going to do to you. See, that's what I'm talking about. Buckshot knows what's up. See, like I said, yes, a 10-year-old who discovers something wonderful.
Oh yeah. You're gonna have to check the video chat to understand that. I'm sorry, we're not gonna repeat that.
Yeah.
we don't want to get put on a different list.
I'm sure we're on several at this point.
Yeah, but what this all comes down to, it's not there's like, I don't know who originally said it. I don't know where I originally heard it from, but it's something I've used a lot over the years. And it's that the government doesn't want to force you to follow them, to obey the rules, to toe the line. They want you to want to follow the rules, to obey, to toe the line. Right? This is just another one of those things. Like there's this bill literally says, yes, technically what you did isn't illegal. Yes, technically it's not a hate crime. Yes, technically what you did isn't wrong, but we're still going to put you on this list anyway. We're just because you have a bias that we don't want pushed. Right? So this is going to become just another version of another watch list.
Well, yeah, and this is, and this is one of those things where, like, look at North Korea, right? And everyone laughs at the Hermit Kingdom, right? And giggles about it and stuff. But like, where they have this TV show where they literally just go out and shame people for not having one of the authorized haircuts.
Yes.
Like one of the authorized, they're not actually punished. They're just outed. And because it's not technically illegal, but they like have a state sponsored TV show whose entire purpose is to go out and make fun of people and embarrass them publicly for not having one of the approved haircuts.
Yeah. Canceled. Trying to cancel
and this
people.
And it's because they don't want to have to force you to comply. They want you to want to comply.
Yep. All right, let's talk about one of our favorite non-compliers. Andrew knew what I meant by that one.
Ammon.
Yes, we're going to talk about Ammon Bundy. So Ammon's been in the middle of some stuff up in Idaho. So the backstory is a friend of Ammon's child had a kid, and this kid was sick. Not sick, right? But the kid wasn't feeling well. And there was a doctor's appointment, and the doctor wanted them to follow up, at another date. And some things came up, and they missed that other appointment. Right. So the doctor goes, oh, okay, red flag, red bells, calls up some people. Police come, they take the kid, right? They get a warrant, they take the kid to the hospital. Ammon, the baby's grandfather, a bunch of other people, they literally go in and protest outside the hospital because the hospital has essentially legally kidnapped this child. So that's the whole background.
Yeah, we talked about the medical kidnapping on the show.
Yeah, medical kidnapping. Ammon did some YouTube lives. He did some interviews. He did a couple of podcasts about it. Said some really gnarly things about St. Luke's Hospital, which is not entirely wrong. Not entirely wrong. The hospital is suing Ammon for libel. We'll get into that, yeah. But I
love the opening line of this article because it will make so many people so happy.
Yes. So this is Jim County, Idaho, which is just north of Boise, north of Ada County. So Western States Center hosted a teleconference Friday with the Southern Poverty Law Center and retired Ada County Sheriff Gary Rainey to discuss the, quote, threatening activities demonstrated by Ammon Bundy.
Of course, the Southern Poverty Law Center is involved on behalf of the state. What a shock!
The Southern Poverty Law Center involved in Idaho, local Idaho. The Southern Poverty Law Center is involved. All right, I'm against them.
Yeah, like whatever they're for, I'm against automatically. Yeah,
automatically.
Yes. Not even a question. The moment that they're like, well, this, I immediately oppose it. I don't even need to hear anything else.
Yes. St. Luke's Health System filed a civil lawsuit against Ammon Bundy in February from a days-long protest organized by Bundy outside St. Luke's in Boise over a baby taken by Child Protective Services, baby Cyrus, was removed from her parents after health and welfare determined that malnourished and in imminent danger. They kept Cyrus away from his mom, and she was unable to breastfeed him for like 11 days or something like that.
And then they went, he's malnourished.
Yeah. Yeah. Bundy has harassed, intimidated, and defamed several members of its staff, the lawsuit says. Bundy has not appeared in any court proceedings. Judge Lynn Norton gave a default ruling in St. Luke's favor as a result. The WSC, that is, again, the Western States Center. The Western States Center teleconference recounted Bundy's family history dating back to Bunkerville, Nevada standoff over unpaid cattle grazing fees and the National Wildlife Refuge occupation. Both things that their activities, the cases the federal government were thrown out. There was no charges, no fines, no fees, no nothing issued upon the Bundys at Mower or Bunkerville.
Yep, and that's the thing is like
that's after they threw Ammon and some of his people into a cage for 21 months. Ammon spent 19 months in solitary confinement. By the way, just for the record.
And keep in mind, like, not only is it the Southern Poverty Law Center involved in this, which already tells you it's a load of horseshit.
Yeah.
But on top of that, they're bringing up stuff that he did that was ruled to not be a crime, right? They wound up not being a crime because they never charged him with anything.
In Bunkerville and Mower, they were charged.
Well, charged, but never convicted.
The federal government fucked up so much, hiding evidence, lying, breaking the law, so much that the federal judge threw out the case with prejudice.
Yep, with prejudice, which means it can never be brought again. Like this is what they're bringing up. They're like, well, he also did these things that also indicate that his social credit score is very low.
Yeah. Well, he's on this bias registry. That's what it is. He's on this bias registry. No, because he didn't follow the rules of war playing a video game. Quote, like many other far-right leaders, Ammon is a constitutionalist, a staunch constitutionalist, even to his own detriment, staunch constitutionalist.
Yep.
Like many other far-right leaders, Bundy uses victimhood framing. You guys literally kidnapped a kid from his mom and dad because he missed appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And claims his actions are in response to perceived injustice. Again, you guys literally kidnapped a kid from its parents because it missed an appointment.
I love the perceived. They throw perceived in there.
Perceived injustice by the state, federal, or local governments. Yeah.
It's pretty easy to perceive something that's blatantly there.
Yes. That is from WSC Momentum Program Director Stephen Pigott, P-I-G-G-O-T-T. Pigott? We'll go Pigott.
Pigott, I think, but
Pigott?
It might be Pigott. I don't know.
I
go with Pigott.
I like Pigott. Okay, we'll go Pigott. Pigott talked extensively about the People's Rights Network, an organization launched by Bundy in 2020 to organize his followers and relay messages. PRN, that's People's Rights Network, has 65,000 members according to their website. Oh, okay. They like to stand. Oh my God, they're standing up for their freedoms.
Clutch his pearls.
Quote, PRN has quickly grown by tapping into the fears around uncertainty around the pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns. Who issued the lockdowns? Who enforced the lockdowns? Just saying. The uncertainty. Yeah, I agree with the uncertainty part. I'll admit to that one. The group now boasts thousands of members in a number of states. It relies on threats, intimidation, and political violence in order to achieve its goal of building power locally by sowing distrust in specific institutions.
Political violence? What political violence are you even like?
Oh my God! They let kids play on the playgrounds that were closed by the county.
Political violence.
Sarah Walton Brady. If you don't know, go look her name up.
If you want to talk about political violence, speaking of the Twin Cities,
speaking of people who do not follow the rules of war in first-person shooters.
What?
Yes. During 2020, Summer of Love, Summer of Anti-Love, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, what? Like these people just make things up. They just start declaring stuff. And you know what's funny is, like, in my experience, because I've dealt with a lot of the people who think like this, unfortunately, in my everyday life. And like, I love to like go, well, can you give me some examples of that?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, no, I don't. I obviously don't. I'm unfamiliar with what you're talking about. Could you give me some examples? And they never can, because they're just declaring things that they're just parroting things that somebody else declared with absolutely no evidence. And they have no idea at all what they're saying. They're not even thinking about it. It just went in and went, I need to repeat this. And so then they're just parroting this because they have the IQ of warm mayonnaise.
Parroting is a good word, but I prefer the word regurgitating. They are regurgitating talking points that they've heard.
Well, I think parroting because I think of like NPCs. Like NPCs can't actually think for themselves. They're just repeating things, saying things that they were told to say. So,
yes. All right. In order to the goal of building power locally, which Yes, that's the way it should be. By sowing distrust in specific institutions. If you want to be trusted, be trustful. Just saying. Bundy has contacted his PRN, that is the People's Right Network, support system throughout the month of April via text message announcing law enforcement on his property. Deputies have routinely served Bundy with papers for some time now. No, they served him once or twice. Previous to that, the sheriff would not serve him because the sheriff said that Ammon was quote weary of receiving legal paperwork or something along those lines.
Yeah, he was straight up scared of him.
Yes, he was scared of a guy standing on his own property that didn't want you to come onto his property.
Yeah, who released multiple videos that said, if you want to serve me with paperwork, you just stop outside there, you get a hold of me, and I'll come out and I'll grab it.
Yeah. Yes. It's easy. All right. I mean, throughout everything, throughout Bunkerville, throughout Mauer, throughout this, the PRN, throughout 2020, throughout. There's nothing Ammon has done that has been violent. Right? I've literally never seen him with the firearm in his hand.
Nothing has been violent or even really threatening. Nothing has been.
No. Nope. So, let's see. Blah 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 blah. Body camera footage from the Jim County Sheriff's Office dated April 24, 2023 shows Ammon Bundy yelling at two deputies after they knocked on his front door and wandered around the outside of an adjacent building on his property.
They didn't wander around the outside. They went into it. They wandered around it and went into it. You can see that on the footage. Blatantly see it on the body cam footage that they're referencing here.
Yes.
You can see them do it.
Yeah, Bundy says, quote, "They had been to my house many, many times before serving, and there was never an issue. It wasn't until they went around my property and went into a building that upset me and caused me to ban them from my property. They didn't have the right to snoop around my property, knocking on windows, looking in windows, and going into one of the buildings." The body camera footage obtained by KTVB does not show any deputies going inside a building. Deputies did, but Ammon's video does. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Ammon's video very clearly shows them going into the building.
Yes. The body camera footage obtained by KTVB does not show any deputies going into the building. Deputies did look through windows and doorways, presumably to find Bundy and serve him papers. Speakers at the WSC event discussed concerns about the possibility of Bundy and his PRN followers resorting to violence regarding the St. Luke's lawsuit. Rainey says, "I think the real question is Bundy going to try and push something? Because as time goes on, he realizes his supporters are getting bored of this and nothing is happening. Will he push something to create the confrontation?" No,
that's the ridiculous thing. Like he's said multiple times that he doesn't want violence, and like if he'd wanted violence, right? Why would he not have instilled violence while the medical kidnapping was going on?
Yeah,
but he didn't. Did he? He just
why
protested.
Why not rush into the building and take the kid?
Yeah,
right. Or why afterward not do something? You know, why not go after the people that took him? Why not go after the person running the hospital or running the pediatrics part of the hospital that, you know, that was watching over the kid, or go after the nurses, you know, to try and get the kid out of there, or anything like that. Like if there was going to be a violent confrontation, it would have been either when CPS and the police took the kid or while St. Luke's had possession of baby Cyrus.
Exactly. And he didn't, did he? He just protested and he brought up what was going on and he called attention to it, and he's being sued because he said mean things.
Yes.
They were true.
Bundy said that St. Luke's is not the victim in the lawsuit. and that the Southern Poverty Law Center for years has worked to incite the government to carry out violence against Bundy and his family, which is true.
Yeah, the Southern Poverty
true.
Law Center is not Southern. It isn't about poverty, and it has nothing to do with law.
And we know where their funding comes from.
It is entirely a Soros-backed left-wing think tank, and that's all it is, and all it's ever been.
Bundy says, quote, "I just want to be left alone. I want them to leave other people alone and follow the law. Don't take babies that are loved and cared for by their parents." Yeah. I'm just saying, if there was going to be violence, it would be when they took the kid or when St. Luke's had the kid. Right? Rainey goes on to say, quote, "Bundy does not need to answer to our justice system. He needs to go to court. He needs to be held accountable for his actions. But they need to, for lack of a better term, sit back, let things calm down. He will be held accountable. There is no other way out of this." There is a other way out of that.
Yeah.
And it is what Bundy did. I don't have an article for it, but Bundy essentially issued a open invite for a barbecue.
Yep.
He said, "Hey, come on down, bring some sides, come hang out. We've got a barbecue going. We got plenty of room. You guys can set up some tents." And basically, there's a standoff right now with Bundy and his supporters at the barbecue. They're just at a barbecue, hanging out at a barbecue, and law enforcement being scared to go serve him their paperwork. Yeah. which I think is hilarious and kind of, I don't know. It makes me smile that Ammon went that way with this.
He's demonstrating, I mean, artfully demonstrating,
yeah,
that I am not threatening anyone. I am not openly, like, no one's pointing guns at anyone. No one's demanding anything. We're just here. And you guys are the ones who are refusing to do your jobs.
Yep. Yeah. We're just hanging out having a barbecue. Come on down. You know,
you guys want to come have barbecue as you serve me the papers?
Yep. Step to the property line. You know, don't come over the property line because you already said you weren't welcome. Come to the property line. Call out for him. Be a man.
Yep. He'll come up. He'll come get his paperwork. He'll sign the thing that says that he got it. He may even give you a burger. There you go. What are you scared of right now? What are you scared of?
Yeah. It's hilarious. I find it hilarious, actually. The whole thing is hilarious. But Ammon is he's shielded, legally shielded in a lot of ways. The deed on his property and like his heavy equipment and a few other things, they're held by a firm in Wyoming. It's like a catch-all in Wyoming. It's a white owl or white birch, something like that. So Ammon really realistically doesn't own anything of value because they're held by this holding company in Wyoming. So even if you know they aren't able to serve him and the lawsuit goes through and St. Luke's wins, they're not winning anything.
Yeah, it's
a token.
The general term in legal circles is judgment proof.
Yeah,
the idea that you have nothing, so there is nothing that a judgment could take away from you.
Now he did a video saying, "I'll give you everything I own. I'll give you everything I own," which is like literally the clothes on his back and a little bit of cash, and that's it.
Yep.
No, but they don't want that. They don't want that because it's not about the win, right? It's about trying to punish somebody for wrongthink. Because Ammon doesn't follow the rules in a first-person shooter. Ammon has he's on a bias registry because he has a different way of living, a different opinion on things, and believes that St. Luke's is wrong, that the kid should never have been taken. Right? That's his his moral and religious belief, and
Yeah.
constitutionally, they don't have the legal leg to stand on constitutionally. So constitutionally, morally, and religiously, you're not going to push Ammon out of this position.
Yep.
And that's
Well, yeah,
fantastic.
and the thing is nothing that he said, if you followed that at the time, nothing that he said could even actually be held as libel.
Yeah.
Or, nothing he said
even
or wrote was libel or slander. None of it. It wasn't.
even if he did say anything bad, right? And if he didn't even say anything like over and aboard or over and above, they have to prove, St. Luke's has to prove that their reputation was harmed. Right.
Well, not just that their reputation was harmed, but that there was real damage. Because we're talking about court law, right?
Yeah, irreparable damage, right?
Well, not even necessarily irreparable, but like that there was a monetary loss as a direct result of what he did. And I guarantee you they can't.
Yeah, because Ammon's on this bias registry. Right? So people don't care what he has to say anyway. So they can't win this lawsuit in the first place.
And the funny thing is with this whole thing is like there is almost no one who has any respect for CPS, right? Like,
oh God, no. One of the most overpowered of all of government agencies.
Dated's a strong word, but in any case, regularly spent the night at the house of a chick who worked for a hospital as an advocate for like child abuse cases, right? And she hated CPS and just was like, they're awful. And I said, you mean the Bureau of Child Kidnapping? She said, exactly.
Yes.
And she was a pretty bleeding heart leftist for the most part and literally worked for this hospital as an advocate for child abuse and hated CPS. Like, just to put in perspective how horrible that organization is.
Yes. So, but that, I don't know, that's segue-ish, right? That's our new term. We're gonna coin that term, segue-ish. Into this Fox News piece. Guns, fear, and the media. Experts explain the shifting gun culture in America. Guns have always been a central feature of American culture. However, over the years, that culture surrounding gun usage has shifted. Sociologist Dr. David Yamane, Yamane, Yamane.
Maybe.
Yeah, Yamani. We'll call it Yamani.
How about Yamani? I think it's Yamani.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sociologist.
Socialist. Goddamn commie.
Yeah. Sociologist Dr. David Yamane and psychologist Dr. Kevin Gilliard explained on Sunday. Gilliland? Oh yeah.
Gilliland.
That's not Gilliland. Gilliland.
Gilliland, yes.
So Dr. Kevin explained on Night in America how the uptick in senseless violence across America has created a heightened sense of fear and an increased need for self-defense in America. Yes. Yeah, quote, I think we have to start by recognizing that guns have always been a fairly normal part of American culture. But the reasons that people own guns have evolved over time, and people have always had firearms for self-defense. Dr. Yamane said, going on to explain how the, quote, core of American gun culture has seen an evolution motivated by self-defense. I can't disagree with that, right? When the Second was written, it was about revolution. It was about fighting off a tyrannical government. And then in a way, you could say it evolved into providing for hearth and home, right? Defense against foreign invaders, defense against Indians, defense against outlaws and rogues, right, out there on the frontier. And then for a while, it was kind of lost. It was sporting purposes. It was a little bit of hunting. It was a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But now it's come back around that it's really, really pushing hard about self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
No. Quote, in the past 30 to 40 years, the self-defense motivation has really moved to the core of American gun culture. So this is what I call gun culture 2.0, the second evolution of American gun culture. Not everybody owned gun for self-defense, but a lot of people do. On the topic,
I do want to point out, in a lot of countries that otherwise don't allow firearms ownership, and there are a lot, for self-defense purposes is one of the few things that they will issue a firearms license for. So like in South Africa, for instance, you have to get specific licenses for each gun, right? And they have to have certain purposes and blah, blah, blah. But the one that's wide open for whatever gun you want is your self-defense license. So like that's the first one everyone gets, is the self-defense one. Like it is the principal recognized reason across the world to own a firearm.
It's one of the
defend yourself.
It's self-defense, I would argue, is one of the few universally recognized human rights.
Yeah.
One of a few. On the topic of fear surrounding guns and the increased importance of self-defense, Dr. Gilliard highlighted the role of the media and social platforms, creating a heightened sense of concern surrounding violence.
Oh my gosh, it's almost like people actually talking about how much violence against people there are right now has made people aware that they maybe need to protect themselves from violence.
If it bleeds,
thanks, Gilliland.
If it bleeds, it leads, right? Quote, it is fearful, isolated, rhetoric-filled individuals that feel such a great need to defend themselves all the time and everywhere. And it's hard to value another human when you're not connected to them, even when your view of them comes from social media news and not the unbiased stuff that you and I grew up with that went away in 1987 when the FCC got rid of the fairness right, the fairness rules for media, the fairness doctrine. So what we did is what we took a look. What we did was look for in those. He said, discussing the effects that sources have on people's psyche.
I'm sorry. What? So he's saying it's hard to value another human when you're not connected to. Is he saying that I am wrong for wanting to defend myself and my loved ones through any force necessary from people who would harm them? Is he saying that desire is dehumanizing the criminals, and therefore, but you should it's just possessions. You should be willing to be completely robbed regularly, because otherwise you might have to kill somebody. And that means that, yeah, it's one of those, you value your property more than someone's life. Well, if someone tries to take my property from me, they clearly value it more than their lives too.
Yeah. This is the kind of guy who would follow the rules of war in a first-person shooter.
This is the kind of guy who would, like, if he was being robbed, hand over his wallet and go, did you need my PIN number for my debit card? Gosh, you clearly need it more than me.
Yeah.
And then get shot in the face anyway.
Stand there and watch the significant other get raped.
Yeah. Absolutely. And be like, well, and then refuse to tell the police what the race of that person was if it wasn't white.
Oh, because he didn't want to be he didn't want to be on a bias. He didn't want to end up on a bias registry.
Yeah. That's this person right here.
Yes.
Right here.
Yes. Quote, and the more you fill your head, your psyche, and the more you read and watch, the more you get disrupted, and the more fear all right.
And you feel far more vulnerable?
Take two. Yes. And the more you fill your head, your psyche, and the more you read and watch, the more you get disrupted, and you feel far more vulnerable. And now fear and anxiety and worry starts to make choices, including protecting yourself.
Because it's clearly you're just a terrified little thing for wanting to protect yourself.
See, what it is you watch too much news. You're not connected to other people, and that's why you feel the need to protect yourself.
You know, there were those. You remember those joke ads that were like spoofs of Moms Demand Action with the, with like the robber breaking in with the gun, and it's like, well, have you considered that he may have a wife and kids at home or whatever?
Yes.
And
Yes.
like that was a spoof a few years ago. These people have now actually become what was satire.
Yeah, this is another check mark in the Babylon Bee win category.
Yeah, like somehow they predicted this.
Yes.
Like perfectly. Because it was obvious that this was the direction these people are heading. Like these people would willingly just be robbed and violated in all sorts of ways all day, every day, so that they can feel the moral superiority of, but at least I didn't kill anyone.
Yes. These are the people that would have taken Baby Cyrus. So.
These are the people who would have given away Baby Cyrus if they were his parents.
True. Yes.
And just been like, oh yes, the state knows more than me. I'm but a lowly peon. I can't possibly know.
Like the people that argue against homeschooling because the parents are not experts.
Yeah.
Please shut
my response to them, my response to those people, if you ever want to blow their mind when they go, well, you're not an expert in these categories, so you can't possibly teach your kid, is go, are you an expert in education?
Yes.
And they're like, well, no. Oh, so how could you possibly make a judgment call on what the best education for my child is if you're not an expert in education?
Yeah, okay. This one's going to blow your mind. When asked about the increased coverage of violence in today's media, Dr. Gilliland.
It's Gilliland. I don't know why that's hard. It's Gilliland.
Dr. G explained how the constant news of aggression contributes to the heightened fear and anxiety in individuals.
So actually hearing about how much violence and crime there is in the world might make you afraid. So just play ostrich real quick. Stick your head in the sand and pretend that nothing can hurt you.
Yes, but do so in compliance.
Actually do that, but
yeah, but do so in compliance with the rules of war.
Yeah, yes. But like, I mean, not that ostriches actually do that, because the funny thing is that ostriches have killed people because they will kick the shit out of you. And those claws are nothing to joke about.
Oh yeah, they'll break a lion's jaw, no problem.
Yeah, right. Ostriches don't actually stick their heads in the sand.
That's why.
What they do is kick the shit out of things.
That's why wolves will chase a moose or elk into the water instead of attacking them on land, because they can't kick as much in the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quote. Okay, let me go back to that. He said, when asked about the increased coverage of violence in today's media, Dr. Gillen explained how the constant news of aggression contributes to the heightened fear and anxiety in individuals. Quote, we do have a greater knowledge of it without question than we ever did again. Hold on. That's a terrible sentence.
That doesn't make sense.
Quote, we do have a greater knowledge of it without question than we ever did again. We used to grow up with the worries that existed in our community, and we weren't able to pursue or have information pushed our direction. There's absolutely an element of that. The anxiety and fear and worry has permeated into our world because our world has gotten so much bigger, and we're not built for a world with information pressing at us like it is. It's why we caution our adolescents, and we need to caution ourselves.
First of all, the problem with that quote...
Swing away.
We used to grow up with the worries that exist in our community, and we weren't able to pursue or have information pushed in our direction. Are you a vampire? Because the only possible way that you grew up in that world is you're a vampire.
Yes.
And a 1,000-year-old vampire. because the printing press has been around a minute, and newspapers have been around a very long
Printing
time.
press, radio.
Yeah, like the only possible explanation here is this man is a vampire, which means we need to stake him immediately because we cannot allow that kind of a threat in our community.
Hold on. Let me check the rules of war on that.
Yeah, I don't think they apply to supernatural beings. But like this man's clearly a vampire if that's how he grew up.
Yes.
Second of all, what he's basically claiming is that, well, because you keep hearing about all the horrible things that are happening in the world, you are going to respond to those and prepare yourself for horrible things to happen. And that's wrong. You should just be a victim and be proud, damn it, of being a victim. Like these people are going to start selling my child was sexually violated by a person of color bumper stickers.
Not only that, but he also makes an argument for localization because he says that we're too global, right? We're too worried about what's happening everywhere else and not instead of just in our neighborhoods. Right, which is the complete opposite of what they just said about Ammon Bundy.
Yeah. But I mean, this is the thing though, is like, what I'm saying with the bumper sticker though is like these are the people who would proudly proclaim, you know, oh well, my child wound up having a rape baby from a person of color, and they would be proud of that because, but I didn't intervene, I just sat back and watched. That's the kind of person this motherfucker is. And as an Irishman, I, for one, resent the fact that his last name is Gilliland.
Yes. This person will organize a kids only drag show.
He's like, he's literally saying in that quote, he is literally saying that it is better to be a victim and a willing victim than it is to go, I need to be prepared for things bad happening, and therefore I can respond to them.
Yes. Which is a perfect segue. That is a perfect segue. No more on this. That is a perfect segue to a Politico article. The threat of civil breakdown is real.
No. What? Remember that stupid commercial that's on TV that's on like late night TV? Say what? Like that's
the guy on TikTok. What? No way.
Yeah, what? No way.
No
way.
Canadian
dude.
Yes. So this is a Politico article. The threat of civil breakdown is real. Of course, they talk about Donald Trump, of course, which
January 6th. Ooga booga.
No. I don't think January 6th comes up, does it?
I don't know. It might, but oh yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. Second paragraph. Already.
Oh yeah, January 6th. Okay.
January 6th, the Ooga booga with the spicy.
Oh, and the fourth paragraph and the fifth paragraph.
Yeah, these people are. January 6th is the new 9/11. I'm just going to point out, like, if you remember in Family Guy when Lois was running for school board or whatever, and she's like, 9/11 was bad. And everyone's like, yay. And she's like, 9/11. And yay. That's January 6th now for these fucking people.
Yes.
That's just.
Yes. So, okay. The threat of civil breakdown is real. The Manhattan District Attorney's indictment of former President Donald Trump for 34 felonies so far has not resulted in the, quote, death and destruction that the former president warned of and may have desired.
He literally never actually said that.
Oh, yes.
Even if he did, he's Donald fucking Trump. That man's a nutcase.
The protests near the courthouse, though loud, were non-violent and essentially performative. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had encouraged the far-right demonstrators, left the scene after 5 minutes, unable to make herself heard over the noise. We and others have written of the prospect of a new civil war in the United States, which seem a real, if still remote, possibility immediately after January 6th.
Ooga booga. They're in
Need a bell.
between. They're in between the velvet ropes. Oh no! They're being shown around by security guards. Oh no! It's a chaos. Anarchy reigns.
He's got a buffalo head. Drop the nukes.
Yeah. Who got invited in?
Still report after January 6th. Now it is starting to look less plausible given the strength shown by the political center in the 2022 midterms and President Joe Biden's largely effective tenure in the White House. Oh my goodness. Largely effective tenure in the White House.
I don't know where I'm going. And talking about the dang old hairy leg
popcorn
cockroaches, man. And largely effective.
Hold on. Yet full-scale civil war is not the only danger. Far-right Americans are highly unlikely to coalesce into a cohesive force that could wage war, but an army is not required to wreak sustained havoc and destabilize the country.
Yes, you are correct.
Laughs in asymmetrical warfare. Yes. In a deeply polarized environment, smaller pockets of armed unrest could easily ignite and spread disorder. The hyperbolic reactions of the far-right Republican political figures and media commentators to the Trump indictment signal that they certainly do not believe the MAGA fever among the constituents and consumers has broken.
Yes, because as we all know, only far-right political figures advocate for violence. It's not like anyone said that trans people should go shoot up churches and schools or anything recently that's a major political figure for the left.
Yes.
Or anything like that. Or that people on the left wing like set fire to half of Minneapolis or anything.
Yes.
That's
So Minnesota Buckshot says the writer of this is not only drinking the Kool-Aid, they made the stuff. Yeah, it's Steve Simon and Jonathan Stevenson of Politico.
They're straight up like pouring Kool-Aid in lines and snorting it using a paper straw, but snorting it.
Yes.
Okay. And really, it just occurred to me that cokeheads are really pioneers of environmentalism using paper straws with their rolled up dollar bills.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Okay. MAGA broken constituents and consumers has broken. As the 2024 election approaches, the threat of political violence and civil breakdowns is only going to increase. And despite all that U.S. national security and law enforcement officials have learned since January 6th, the country is still not prepared for a far-right revolt. Several discomforting questions arise. How many right-of-center Americans believe violence will be necessary to repeal a perceived racial or cultural threat? Do those who harbor the belief that genuine intent to take up arms? If so, what would it take to make them shoot? Senior U.S. counterterrorism officials assess that the risk of major civil disruption is still salient. While most domestic political violence is perpetrated by lone actors, the FBI arms them. I'm just saying. While most domestic political violence is perpetrated by lone actors And federal government enforcement post January 6th crackdown has undeniably had a deterrent effect on fence sitters while incarcerating many who followed through on their beliefs. Political polarization has not materially diminished.
Gosh, it's almost like that whole the more you tighten your grasp, the more slips through your fingers.
Yes. Yes. And it is precisely political polarization that has hindered the federal government's ability to counter domestic terrorism. The term domestic terrorism, however appropriate it may be, is politically toxic to most congressional Republicans. As a result, the federal strategy for countering domestic terrorism appears piecemeal and poorly integrated. No single agency is really in charge, and much of the jurisdictional authority lies with locally elected prosecutors reluctant to step on the toes of those who put them in office. And unlike the
Gosh.
United Kingdom, for example, the United States has no nationwide government agency authorized and equipped to counter radicalization. What the fuck is the FBI doing then?
Well, not only that, all right, I just want to point out how often in the past 24 months the hyper American political left has appealed to what the United Kingdom is doing.
Yes.
Repeatedly, right? Like that's happened again and again and again. And all I can point out is, gosh, why don't we care what the UK is? It's almost like maybe we fought a fucking war to not care.
Yes.
And because of what they were doing and because of the path they were going down.
But I'm stupid for wanting firearms for self-defense. Yeah. I'm stupid for wanting firearms for self-defense. And for not following the Geneva Convention and playing first-person shooter games.
I love his one comment. Do those who harbor that belief have genuine intent to take up arms? If so, what would it take to make them shoot? You know, you and me both keep wondering that, bud.
Chuckles and twiddling thumbs.
Like we both kind of are starting to wonder the same question.
For different reasons.
Completely different reasons.
For very opposing reasons. Oh, fuck.
Drastically different. Was it the National Counterterrorism Center?
Yes.
That sounds like something that completely wouldn't be tyrannical in any way, shape, or form.
I'm sure they don't have a bias registry at all.
Yeah.
Yes,
they probably don't have lists that any of us are on.
The National Counterterrorism Center would be a logical conveyor and coordinator of federal law enforcement agencies charged with executing a variety of counterterrorism missions. But both the NCTC and the Department of Homeland Security lack full access to FBI files. By default, this makes the FBI, for all its known limitations, the analytic lead for producing strategic intelligence on domestic terrorism in the U.S. because they fucking co-op it.
Yeah, because they create the domestic terrorism.
Oh,
it's them. God. Yeah, they're the leading. It's amazing how easy it is to be a leading expert on terrorism when you're the one who starts it all.
Just saying, if the FBI stopped creating domestic terrorists and the news media stopped pushing a bias, the domestic terrorism would disappear. These school shootings largely would disappear. It's just it's insane. It's absolutely insane that people allow themselves to be just conditioned isn't the right word. It's not conditioned. It's indoctrinated and propagandized and just absolute fucking brainwashed in into believing things like following the rules of war in a video game will help people humanize war. Like it's all the same ideology, and it's driving me bonkers. And I don't know how to put it into words, but it's driving me bonkers. You're muted.
These are the people who say that it would be better to be a victim
Yes.
than it is to defend yourself. These are the people who want you to be weak. They want you to be vulnerable. They want to, and this is an example of them looking for an excuse to start disarming people who disagree with them, right? Like, that's blatantly what this is, well, but they're going to start a war. They're going to start attacking us. This is them looking for excuses to take your guns away, to take your ability to defend yourself away.
Yeah. We need to take away guns because people aren't following the rules of war playing first-person shooter video games. That's what it comes down to.
Because people say mean things in front of hospitals.
Because people say mean things in front of hospitals when we take their kids away.
Yeah, when we steal children.
Yeah. All right. This is a long article. I don't want to get into the rest of it, but I want to get in this last article real quick, and then we'll get out of here. You're gonna like this one. So San Diego is making moves to try and help the homeless by provide housing for the homeless. San Diego leaders are requesting state funds to buy 3 hotels for the city's homeless at a cost of $383,000 per room.
It would literally be cheaper just to continue to rent out the hotels every day.
San Diego leaders are requesting state funds to buy 3 hotels for the city's homeless at a cost of $383,000 per room. I don't have to read that third time, right? Yes. The city where homelessness surged to record highs in recent months will apply for funds to California Governor Gavin Newsom's latest $736 million round of funding from his homeless grant program. City officials were unfazed by the cost of the plan, with Commissioner Ryan Klumper calling it, quote, a fantastic value proposition.
Fantastic value.
Yes.
If so $383,000 per room. So if you pay, right, if you're paying $100, let's say it's $100 a night, right? So it's 365 days or nights a year, $36,500 per year per room, right? And then you multiply that times, let's say what the average stay is, maybe 5 years. That's still only $182,500. If you rented that room at $100 a night, every single night for a person for 5 years.
Yes. But we're the crazy ones. Fantastic value proposition. Commissioner Stephanie Benvenito called the value of the purchases, quote, incredible when you see the cost at the door. San Diego is eyeing the hotel purchases despite the recent failure of a similar initiative. In 2020, the city commissioners approved the purchase of 2 hotels to house homeless people at $278,000 to $353,000 per room. A newly opened affordable housing apartment project cost $51.1 million in total, or $583,000 per room. Still, downtown San Diego's homeless population reached a record high earlier this year of nearly 2,000 people.
I love this quote.
Yeah, they're nuts, Bob Roch, San Diego businessman whose company owns and operates hotels told the Union Tribune of the city's leaders, quote, they overpaid last time during the pandemic and they're overpaying again.
They're nuts. They overpaid before and they're overpaying again. And yet these same people who are overpaying massively, and every businessman is going, wow, they're overpaying, that the politicians are going, it's a great value.
Yes. The next paragraph. You want to read that next paragraph?
About the purchases.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, Democrat, latest budget proposal includes $1.3 billion for the city's nearly 41,000 homeless, which equates to $32,000 per person. Per capita, Los Angeles income is $39,380.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So just backtracking. I want to backtrack on this just a little bit. San Diego's homeless population, a record high of nearly 2,000 people. They want to spend $383,000 per hotel room for 2,000 people. Los Angeles has 41,000 homeless, and they want to spend approximately $32,000 per person. And they believe that these are good deals and that it is sustainable. Last month, Newsom proposed a ballot initiative to approve a minimum of $1 billion each year to house homeless people who are mentally ill. According to the federal government's latest count, California holds nearly a third of the nation's homeless, multitudes more than any other state. Oh, yeah.
Gosh, I wonder why that could be.
I don't know. Maybe it's Democratic policies attract people that, yeah.
Or it could be, the mismanagement of city funds that causes housing.
Well, the city of San Francisco will literally give you $600 if you're homeless. Period, straight off the bat. Right? That's without any sort of county assistance or state assistance or Social Security or disability or supplemental income or anything. If you're homeless in San Francisco, $600 right off the bat. Right? There's a documentary shot. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, of a homeless guy following the homeless population. There's a homeless guy who was bragging about he had a brand new iPhone. He had Netflix. He had Amazon Prime. All this other stuff. And he chose to be homeless because it was a better life for him being homeless with all these accoutrements, thanks to the government, than if he was working 40 or 50 hours a week trying to afford an apartment. In city of San Francisco, if you make, I think the number is 135,000. If you make $135,000 in San Francisco, you're still living at the poverty level.
$135,000.
I think that's the number, if I remember correctly. So it is literally easier to be homeless in San Francisco than it is to try and live on a 40-hour a week minimum income job.
You know why that is?
Because government is stupid.
Because of a combination of taxes, regulatory overburden on housing, all this other stuff. We're starting to see that here in La Crosse, where our homeless population is starting to increase because the city keeps approving all of these luxury apartments and all of these luxury condos and all this other stuff getting built. And then, and so then all of this what was affordable run down as shit, but affordable housing is getting torn apart, and a giant apartment building is being built in its place. Right. And that's what's happening. And then that giant apartment building is charging you for a 1-bedroom apartment is charging you $1,200 a month. Well, the people who could afford the $450, $500 a month that they were paying in the rundown house that was standing there, they can't afford $1,200 a month. So now where are they going to go? You just took their house away from them.
Yeah.
And so now what we're seeing in La Crosse is we're seeing this happen where all these people are becoming homeless who are still making 35, 40K a year, and they're becoming homeless because they can't find housing that they can afford anymore.
Yep. But don't worry, the government will step in and pay $353,000 for a hotel room. So
yeah,
there's that.
It's freaking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it all tracks back.
You could get better. You could be treated better if you went to Mexico, became a Mexican citizen, and then illegally immigrated into the United States. You would be treated better.
Yeah. Than somebody who's an actual wage earner in the United States.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous.
This is all because we don't follow the rules of war playing video games.
It all comes down to, and the thing is all these bleeding heart liberals don't seem to get it. And what it all comes down to is that all of their policies, all of their increased taxes, all of their increased regulatory burdens, all of this stuff increases the cost of living so much that's why people wind up homeless.
Yep. And then the government taxes people even more, rising prices even more to help take care of the homeless created because of government oversight and regulation in the first place.
Right, that the government caused in the first damn place.
Yeah. No. Yeah. All right, let's throw some links and get out of here.
All right, buy Derek's book, Think for Yourself, a thinking workbook for beginners. It's relatively cheap. It's available on Amazon. Make sure that you read it before you leave a review. Check out the Quarterings Coffee brand coffee. They are a friend of the channel. Use the link in our link tree. Check out Dave at Poppins Patches. He's a friend of the channel, and he does some really cool, really high quality patches. Actually, that War Crime one that I had on, that's one of his. Super high quality, super awesome.
He just dropped some new ones too.
Yeah, he's dropped some new ones. He's got a ton of really nostalgic ones, a ton of like geeky ones.
Star Wars ones are cool.
Yep. Yeah. He also, speaking of Star Wars, remember we talked about on the channel the Jolly Roger, and we laughed about that, right? He makes that now. That's one that we talked about, one that we made up, and that's now a thing that you can get. It's super awesome. Yes, I actually have that one, the Thrawn's Laboratory. I got that one sitting over that way. Yeah, so check stuff out. It's super awesome, and you want to make sure that if you're going to get a morale patch, check his stuff out first because it's super cool. We also are an affiliate of RK Spookware. If you know what they do, then you know why they need them, why you need them, and why you should probably shop with them. If you use the affiliate link in the description, you get to support the channel, which is super cool. We'd super appreciate it. Also, we are an affiliate of Reaper Brand Apparel. Super cool company, super cool message. Definitely check them out. They got cool hats. They got cool all sorts of stuff. If you want to care for your beard like a Viking, like I do, you want to use thebeardstruggle.com for your beard care needs. Make sure you use the code InkedAnarchist15 at checkout. And if you do that, you get yourself 15% off. They got all sorts of cool new stuff right now. They're constantly updating their inventory, so make sure that you check them out. I highly recommend Odin's Virtue for a scent, by the way, if you're a dude and you want to get their beard shampoo, conditioner, whatever else. We are also an affiliate of Lions Not Sheep, and they have some cool stuff. I love my Free Man t-shirt from them. I love wearing that thing in public. They have all sorts of other cool stuff. They're super, super awesome. Also, make sure that if you can afford to support Walk the Talk America, we had Mike, the founder of Walk the Talk America, on here a little while back. You can go back and check out that episode if you haven't seen it before. And super cool organization. We really highly support them. They're absolutely awesome, and what they do is a totally worthwhile thing, connecting gun owners with gun literate therapists for the sake of mental health in the gun community. And it's super worth it, super worthy cause. If you can donate to them, please do. Highly recommend them. Highly recommend checking them out. If I forgot anybody, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I really need a list, but check our stuff out in the link tree and you will see everything that we have. Use the link tree stuff for most of it. If you want to use Inked Anarchist 10 on Reaper Brand apparel, you can get 10% off. If you use the Linktree thing, you get 15% off. So make sure you do that. I think that's everything. I hope that's everything. I don't know one way or another.
I don't know. All right. Go check out Anarchist Beauties. Crystal and the girls over there doing just they're still getting started. But there's a new episode dropping tomorrow with Stephanie and Mandy. Mandy was on the very first episode of Anarchy Among Friends, and they're dropping the one tomorrow on Peaceful Parenting, which is kind of the complete opposite of what we talked about today.
Yeah, we were not talking about being peaceful today.
Yeah. On that note, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.